Welcome back to some new petty revenge stories, where people have small victories over those that wronged them. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Sales Quotas. I worked in a big department store, where it was well known that you were fired at 5 months and 3 weeks, as health insurance kicked in at 6 months. They also had sales quotas you had to reach. If you reached it in one quarter, then the next quarter you had to sell as much or better. Make it, 10% raise. Miss it, 10% pay cut. But since in the summer people buy for back to school and right before Christmas there's a month of big sales, each quarter is set up so that you get a lot of sales in one quarter, then fewer sales in the next quarter, then a lot of sales, then fewer sales. So you start at $10. Summer back to school sales, you have $11. But then fall sales, you go down to $9.90. Christmas sales, you are back to $10.89. Pay goes down and it just keeps going down despite cost of living going up. I spotted that as soon as they mentioned it in training, but knew I'd be gone by 6 months, so no big deal. That last month I went from being one of the very best salespeople to selling a $7 belt. I rang up every sale under my coworkers' names. I did all the back of the room work so they could focus on customers. End result, every single one, about 6 people, made their quota and got a raise instead of a pay cut. The floor manager was a nice woman and also got a raise. When I was brought in to be fired, they had to hunt for a reason, and they finally fired me for going home sick with permission from the manager an hour before I was supposed to log out. I pointed out the $7 instead of the 7K-ish I normally made in sales, collected the paycheck and walked off, grinning. Already had a new job lined up and got recommendations from coworkers if I ever needed them. My coworkers all had raises, and the store had lost a very good salesperson as well as had to spend the next 6 months. The next quarter was a big sales quarter, paying everyone that higher pay rate, and then the bump for the big sales quarter too. The next story is called Nice Grandma. This happened yesterday at work. I work in a small gourmet store in a high-end area, so we have some entitled people. I work in the bakery and checkout section with 2 to 3 other people, depending on the day. When this happened, there were 3 of us working, but one girl, coworker 2, was in the back. My coworker 1, was helping this guy find a box of sesame seed cookies we sometimes have. We have a cookie shelf that is near the entrance that connects us to the other side of the store. She and the customer were standing 5 feet away from the actual entrance, so it had opened up, and there were about 3 to 4 feet on the other side of them for people to pass. Enter Rude Lady. Rude Lady was carrying around 4 sandwiches, 2 of which were wrapped in a container. Her hands were full, but she wasn't close to dropping everything. She didn't have a cane or anything, walked like I did. Anyway, she comes through the opening and coworker 1 and the customer are in her way. They blocked a direct path, but she could have easily gone around them to get to me. She would have to cross over to get to me anyway, because of where the register is. Instead of taking advantage of the 3 to 4 feet that were wide open, this woman stops, sighs, and says, "Seriously?" In shock, coworker 1 and the customer move out of her way, but are giving her a hard side-eye. I'm honestly in shock as I'm ringing her up, but I'm in customer service mode, so I'm smiling and being pleasant. She tells me the sandwiches she is buying are for a baseball team. When I asked, she said it was college rather than high school or little league, so it was probably her son on the team, as she only looks like she is in her late-ish 50s. The exit is about 10 feet away from the registers, and we face the door. So, as this lady is walking out, I say to my coworker, loudly enough for her and others to hear, "She is such a nice grandma, bringing her grandson's baseball team sandwiches." She turns and looks at me, but I said it sincerely enough that she didn't want to call me out in front of other customers. She just walked after that. The third story is called Prepared for Revenge. My first job after college was as the accountant for a motel with one of the city's best restaurants on the property. For time reference, this was long before cell phones. The property owners were a family who preferred to leave the daily running of the business to the staff. Each week we had a staff meeting led by the head chief and the lead host. After I worked there for about a year, they hired a new catering manager, and she and I quickly became friends. When workload permitted, we would get together and talk, but our work did not suffer because of our friendship. Then one day, at a staff meeting, the paper copy of the agenda was handed out to us, and per my usual, I did not read it. Instead, I just listened to and participated in the meeting. I noticed other meeting participants glancing at me with odd expressions on their faces, but I didn't question it. When I returned to my office, the front desk manager walked in with me and asked, "What do you think of the last agenda item?" She had a wickedly amused expression on her face. I shook my head and then looked at the agenda. The last line said, "Accountant and catering manager should spend less time talking to each other." The head chef did not discuss this in the meeting, but the damage was done. All the hotel's managers had seen it in writing, and many shared it with their employees. I was furious. The catering manager and I discussed it and decided to ignore the whole thing while also ignoring the head chef as much as possible. But there was a lit firecracker in play. The head chef and the lead host were both married to their respective spouses and were having a hot affair on property. All the staff knew about this. There were security videos on the chef and the host going into empty hotel rooms during the day and coming out an hour later. Staff told stories of catching the two of them in the dry goods storage room and seeing them in the back seats of their cars. A few weeks later, we were informed that the family who owned the business had sold it to another company, and the handover would occur in 1 month. None of us were sure of our jobs, but my job was more on the line than anyone else's. It made perfect sense for the incoming owners to put their own accountants in place, so I updated my resume, leaving the ending date blank. A month later, the new company came in and had their 2 accounting staff follow me around to see how things were done. I knew it was just a matter of time before I was let go. 3 weeks later, I was asked to come to the manager's office, where I found the new company's management team and the personnel manager. This was pre-human resources. They were kind and gave me an excellent reference letter and a month's severance pay. Then they asked, "Are there any concerns you have with the way the business is running? And please, be as candid as possible. We will not reveal that it was you who shared information." Time for that lit firecracker to explode. I explained how I was worried about the repercussions that were a distinct possibility due to the extramarital affair between 2 upper management persons. Complete silence. All the staff knows about it. We've seen the videos of them entering hotel rooms together and coming out much later. And the staff reports seeing them in the act in the storage room. Shocked stares. I would not say anything about this if neither was married, but they both have spouses and children, and I can imagine the blowback if one or both spouses find out about this. Blowback that will most likely occur on hotel property. They had me name the people involved, including the affair havers and the staff who had the proof and details of the occurrences. Then they thanked me, handed me my termination paperwork, took my keys and badge, and I was gone. The fallout, as told to me by my friend, the catering manager, the lead host was laid off within days of me leaving, and the head chef was put on 1-year probation. He was sent to classes for, I would guess, appropriate behavior in the workplace, and he was not allowed to lead any more staff meetings. You know, I just felt lucky that I never needed to go into that nasty, dry storage room. The last story is called Trash Can Disposal. Where I live, the houses are very close together. Where my garage ends, their space begins, and the stairs leading up to their house are about 20 feet from my garage. There have been many instances where the garbage collectors leave my neighbor's trash can in front of my garage. That is not a problem. The problem is that the neighbor can take a few seconds to move it out from in front of my garage. I don't expect them to move it the same day. However, there have been multiple instances where the garbage can is in front of my garage for 2 to 3 days after trash pickup. Pretty sure the neighbor has left the house in that time span and seen the garbage can. This neighbor also never brings the garbage can in like everyone else. Instead, they leave it on the street right between my garage and their stairs. Bit of an eyesore, and they will also bring out excess trash that doesn't fit the bin more than a night before pickup. This has caused trash to fly out. Gets pretty windy where we are and get all over the street. This past trash pickup, the garbage can was once again left in front of my garage. I moved it to the front of their place. Today I go to use my car and the can is again in front of my garage. Not sure if someone did it or the wind moved it over. Either way, this would not happen if they ever took their garbage can up. I was very annoyed, so I loaded the trash can into my car and took it to my cousin who is helping with a teardown of her house. The house isn't far away, maybe a 10-minute drive. Put the garbage can in the big dumpster they are using for all the crap from the house. Now, the annoying neighbor will need to either deal with not having a garbage can and potentially, / most likely, get increasing fines or pay a fee to get another one from the city. Normally, I would try to talk to the person. However, this neighbor has gotten into arguments with several other neighbors among other bad behavior. Did not want to deal with that. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.